Hey everyone, it's me, Lindsay, from The Lindsay Life. This may surprise you because it kind of surprises me. I've been teaching crochet now for almost 20 years. And in that time, I've definitely learned a lot. And I've discovered three things that not only make me a better crochet teacher, but can help anyone who wants to teach crochet. So whether you're an established crochet teacher and you just want to make things a little bit better, or whether you're brand new and just stepping into crochet teaching and you want to get started doing the best you can do, I've got my three big things to remember to help you be the best crochet teacher that you can be. I want to talk about this because I've actually had a lot of conversations lately with people who are looking at starting to teach crochet. And I'm noticing that kind of the same issues and concerns are popping up, and they really end up circling around these big three ideas that I see come up, whether it's, I don't want to call them errors, but let's say they're the three things that are likely to be stumbling blocks for crochet teachers, and learning how to account for these and work around these and plan better just makes your crochet teaching better and your students' experience of learning to crochet 1,000 times better. So what are they? So the first mistake that I see a lot of crochet teachers make, especially when they're starting out, is they decide that when they're teaching people to crochet, they're going to have a starting project that is big. And by big, I mean a scarf, not just a blanket. And if you've been crocheting for a while, that makes sense. Like if you crochet, you can make scarves. Well, scarves take a while. And scarves require patience, and they don't give you an immediate sense of satisfaction. So a scarf as a first project for someone who's never crocheted before, just starting to learn to crochet, is actually not what I recommend. So when I personally start people out crocheting, for their first project, I actually teach them how to make bracelets and necklaces with rows of chains that they've made, just the chain stitch. And you're probably thinking, but like, that's not very cool. Like bracelets and necklaces are pretty basic. Well, these are new crocheters. They're just starting out. And the first thing I teach new crocheters is the chain stitch. And I want them to have an immediate sense of accomplishment. I want them to start crocheting, and I want them to see that from day one with that first stitch, they can make something. And when you give them that sense of accomplishment and that feeling, it really helps boost their feeling of how they're doing and really excite them for the next steps and help them keep that interest and that momentum going. Now look, if you were starting to teach crochet and you thought like, I'll have them make a scarf or a blanket, don't worry. I've been there. I've done the same thing too. I remember the first time I actually signed up to teach someone to crochet, I was like, okay, cool. At the end of like the fourth session, we'll all make purses. No, didn't happen. Too much, too big, too fast. Now, when I want to add a little, side note in, when I teach them how to use those chain lengths to make bracelets and necklaces, I also have the knowledge of like how to build on that for like the washcloths and the scarves in the back of my head. So if I have a student who's working at this and just takes to it so quickly and is able to progress really quickly, then I can show that student how to do the next project and the next step and keep them moving forward. But I think it's very different to frame someone's crochet learning experience as, I'm going to teach you a chain stitch and how to make bracelets and necklaces. And then they accomplish that, and maybe they're even able to accomplish more, versus telling someone, I'm going to teach you how to make a scarf, and at the end of the first class, all they've been able to do is chains, which is legit. That happens. You know, learning how to make chains can take people a little while. So by not making that bigger, longer project the focus and the end goal that you're telling them to expect, you're giving them smaller wins along the way. And if you can get them to a bigger win, great. But people tend to be like self-critical, especially when they're learning something new as adults. So you don't want to set them up with, you're going to learn how to do this big, cool thing, and then they can't because it wasn't realistic for them with the time provided. So it's setting expectations so that they can succeed, and they're just going to enjoy the process so much more. They're going to feel greater about themselves, and they're going to feel amazing about you as the teacher who has brought them along this crochet journey. So point 2, the issue that I see pop up time and time again with Learn to Crochet classes and new teachers teaching someone to crochet is they don't give time for repetition and to allow someone to develop the muscle memory they need to perform the stitches not only correctly, but fluently. So I come from a math teaching background. So there's a difference in math education between a student who can say 2 plus 3, and they stop and they think and they use counters and they say 5, versus someone else who can say, oh, 2 plus 3, yeah, that's 5. So that jump from being able to figure out the answer to being able to figure out the answer quickly, that's fluency. So when we're talking about crochet, we're talking about fluency in respect to like the muscle memory in our hands. When you teach someone to crochet, you're asking them to use their hands in a very specific way to do very specific movements that they've likely never had to try before. So this is like totally different, and it takes time. And eventually, yeah, they'll learn to wrap and pull through and do the chain stitch. But your goal is not just for that first couple of times that they do that. Your goal is to give them enough time and practice so that doing the chain stitch becomes a fluid motion, so that they're comfortable with it, so that their hands aren't freaking out about like, wait, why are you asking me to hold in this position when we've never ever done this before? So a lot of times when I teach crocheters, as I said before, I start them with the chain stitch. Once I see they've kind of got it, then I tell them, I said, okay, you're going to practice this until you're sick of it. I'm looking for about 10 minutes of just solid chaining so that they're really comfortable with that before we step into the next stitch, which I teach single crochet next. The analogy that I always give my beginning crochet students, especially the ones who are adults, is like, do you remember when you were first learning to drive and you had to pull out of a driveway and it took you half an hour because there were so many things you had to do to pull out of a driveway and they were all new and you had to be super focused on all of them? Well, you're learning to crochet. Your hands aren't used to what they're doing. You need to be super focused on these steps to get comfortable with it. And just like when you were learning to drive, it initially took you forever to pull out of that driveway, and now you can do it in like 2 minutes while tuning the radio and taking a sip of coffee and wondering what's on your to-do list for today. Well, your chain stitches are going to get like that. Your hands are going to get comfortable. They're going to develop the muscle memory that they need so that crocheting just becomes a more natural, comfortable experience. So if you're a teacher, you've got to give them that time. You cannot rush them and say, oh, she made like 10 chain stitches in a row, so she's ready for single crochet. No, Give your students some time to just practice the chain stitch and to build the muscle memory. And I build in that repetition time for each stitch I teach them. The last mistake that I see teachers make that really comes from more of a standpoint of how you structure things in the class is teachers forget a way to build a continuous connection with their students. When you teach someone to crochet, you are giving them the most wonderful gift. You are showing them how to take yarn and a hook and make something amazing. And a lot of times, your students are going to want to keep that conversation going. They're going to have questions like, what next? Or what patterns do you recommend? So build in a way to keep connecting with those students. It might mean that you give them a sheet of paper that has your email address. It might mean that you have a sign up where you ask for their email addresses on a little sheet. And then you can email them after the class and say, hey, thank you so much for joining. If you have any more questions, feel free to shoot me an email. It also is helpful when you're doing future classes for more advanced technique. You'll already have an audience of people built to send this information to. And they love to know about this because you're the person who gave them this wonderful gift of crochet in the first place. So really, when you're thinking through your first crochet class and how you're going to teach someone to crochet, don't forget to build in that little admin bit about how you're going to keep the contact information or share your contact information. And it is okay to have boundaries. I don't typically give my crochet students my phone number because if I start getting phone calls, at all times of day, I'm not necessarily somewhere where I can give them the time and the attention that they deserve with their questions. But think about how do you want to continue that relationship with these students? And what can you do during the class to help build that going forward? Well, I hope you have found this helpful. I know for me that teaching crochet is something that I just absolutely love and find so rewarding. And from the feedback I get from my students, they do too. And I hope that by watching this, you've discovered things that will help you be a fabulous crochet teacher as well.